Hey, what's up? Mercedes here, and today we're going to go over the best strategies that advanced climbers use in order to continue to see progress in their climbing. This is for the intermediate climber wanting to take their climbing to the next level. So we're first going to go over the common mistakes that intermediate climbers make when they get to the gym, and then we're going to go over some of the best habits that advanced climbers have, and then going into the strategies. So let's get started. All right, common mistake number one, bending your arms way too much. So when bouldering, you are going to bend your arms. In sport climbing, you're gonna have rest points, you're gonna have positions where you're gonna have to clip, and so keeping your arms straight is gonna be way more efficient than having your arms slightly bent the whole time. But in bouldering, you're gonna be on overhanging terrain a lot of the time. So having your arms slightly bent is gonna be the way to go. But I often see intermediate climbers pull up way too much, which unweights your feet. So straighten out those arms a little bit more. This creates more drive and momentum from the feet and the hips. So common mistake number two, not looking at your feet. So this could be while you're climbing or while you're previewing the route. So take a little extra time to look for feet before you get on. And then when you're on the wall, if a move looks really big, take a look around, see if there's any feet that you can use that are close by. Common mistake number three, not turning your knees out. So I see a lot of beginner and intermediate climbers climbing with their knees pointing toward the wall. If you notice a lot of bruises on your knees, this is a clear sign that you're not turning. So turning your hips and turning your knees out is really going to be the way to go in bouldering because, again, we're on overhanging terrain, so you really have to drive those hips into the wall. And by turning your knees out, you're going to be able to do this so much more effectively. Common mistake number four, not using your balance correctly. So I often see climbers rushing through moves where maybe they should have taken a little bit more time to find their balance with the other leg. Maybe it's a flagging leg or maybe switching position. If you're not in balance, a lot of the time you're going to be barn dooring away from the wall, or you just notice that your hips and your weight are coming away from the wall. So just slow down, take a moment to feel your balance and see if there's something else you can do, like a flagging leg or a drop knee or turning your hips into the wall. Common mistake number five, and this mistake goes really well with finding your balance, and that is core tension. Think about core tension as a dynamic quality. You're not going to be using the same tension throughout the whole climb because each move is going to ask for a different type of tension and a different intensity of tension. So if you don't have tension, a lot of the time you're going to see your hips sag and your whole body coming away from the wall. So if you can, just like finding your balance, slow down and experiment with how much tension you need in that move. Some moves need way less tension and you can be so much more relaxed, whereas in really hard moves, you might require a lot of tension. So spend some time here figuring it out. Common mistake number six, this is not sizing your shoe appropriately. This is going to take some time. The longer you climb, the less sensitive your feet become, and you're going to be able to size your shoes smaller and smaller. Your shoes should be snug. And what this allows you to do is actually feel your feet when you're climbing on the wall. So oftentimes bigger shoes make you have sloppier footwork and you just can't have that same awareness in your toe. So take some time at the store, try a variety of shoes on because each company has a different way that it fits on your foot, and keep your shoe on for a little while in the store. Maybe stand up, walk around. Nothing should be painful. It will feel very uncomfortable and you should feel like you need to take your shoe off after about a minute. That's great. This is going to be great for bouldering. All right, so let's go into the common habits that I see a lot of advanced climbers do that intermediate climbers can just pick up right away. And this is number one, warming up. And I know that you have probably heard this hundreds and hundreds of times, but it's so important, not just to warm up all of your joints in your body, but it's actually a great time to check in with yourself. How is your body feeling? Is your body actually ready for the session you're about to do? And if you're not ready and after your warm up, you're still not feeling it, you can always switch gears to a different type of climbing session, or maybe you go do some strength work instead. Habit number two, chalk up. Yes, this is so important. I'm not sure why climbers feel like they shouldn't chalk up as a beginner and intermediate climber, but this is so important. Chalk really does help to absorb moisture in your fingers, and it increases friction. So make sure you chalk up every time you step up onto the mat. And as a courtesy, brush all the holds. So this is habit number 3, which is brushing your holds. So you could brush your holds before and as a courtesy afterward, especially if you have really sweaty fingers. You can have different types of brushes. I like to have a small one and a big one because it fits the holds a little differently. So a big one really gets after those bigger holds and can take off most of the chalk. Smaller brushes are great for small crimps. This is a really great way to build friendships outside or even indoors, that you're brushing the holds for another person, which is very, very sweet. All right, habit number 4, and this is reading your route. I already talked about this, about finding your feet before getting onto the climb, but this is really a good time to look at the whole climb. Where does it start? Where does it end? What kind of intensity do you need to bring to this climb? Maybe you can visualize yourself climbing the route. This is all going to be so important in executing the climb really, really well. And the strategy of trying to on-site a climb is going to really help you long-term. I think developing your on-siting skills is probably one of the most important skills to learn when it comes to problem solving for climbing. So on-siting means that you're climbing something with no information, and your on-site level is the hardest climb you can do without any prior information. And so if you really work on trying to preview, visualize, even feeling the breath or seeing yourself being successful, these are all going to help you with problem solving when it comes to climbing harder and more challenging climbs. So spend the extra time reading your route. All right, so now we're going to talk about strategies that advanced climbers use. So one of my favorite is actually having a flexible mindset. This is something that takes a really long time. You need to learn how to be kind to yourself. You also need to learn how to have lower expectations of your sessions. You can't expect going into every training session feeling and performing the same way. You know, we're gonna have really, really good sessions, and we're gonna have some really, really terrible sessions. And most of the time, we're just gonna have meh sessions. And adjusting your expectations every session is gonna be critical in showing up every day. So adopting that flexible mindset, just like in a warm-up, when you're starting to warm up, you're not quite feeling it, what can you do to continue to progress yourself, but not stick to a rigid program so that you get tired really quickly and develop an overuse injury? No, try to be flexible with your program. And remember, training is a tool. It helps you focus on your weaknesses. It gives you structure to your week, and it gives you a way to work towards something. So don't think of training as something that should be painful, that takes a lot of time. All of that is just the wrong way to train, in my opinion. All right, strategy number 2 is actually falling. Being really, really good at falling, especially if you're a boulderer or if you're a sport climber, trusting your partner is going to be critical as well. So develop these skills. Use them as part of your training plan. Maybe practice falls, practice catches, do all of that in your session. Make it a point to get really good at those, because the better you are at falling, the better your climbing is going to be overall. All right, we already touched on the strategy, but this is really obvious, and it's staying consistent. Again, it goes in with this flexibility mindset, being consistent and showing up no matter how you feel. You're gonna show up to sessions feeling really good, and you're gonna show up to sessions feeling really bad. But what can you do to switch it up so that you can continue to show up, but adjust it to how you're feeling that day? And the last strategy is listening to your body. Again, it all goes back into this flexibility mindset, but listening to your body is so critical because, you know, our bodies go through a lot. If you're a full-time worker, you have a family, you have kids, you want to have a social life. We have all of these things, plus you add on training. That's a lot for your body to process. And maybe you're, maybe not sleeping enough. Are you eating well enough? All of these things play a factor in how your body feels. So you really do have to be flexible and listen to your body and use auto regulation in order to adjust the training plan to how you're feeling. I am not a huge proponent of doing nothing as a rest. Sometimes you really need to do this, but more often than not, moving, going for a walk, doing some recovery strategies, that is actually going to help you feel better. And even just doing your warm-up can actually be a booster in your energy. So you may feel very different after your warm-up. So listening to your body and making really good decisions is such a great strategy, and this is going to take time. So if you're an intermediate climber looking to take your climbing to the next level, you're likely ready for a training program. But training doesn't have to take the joy out of climbing. Climbing and training really go together so well, and if you approach it with that flexibility mindset or just using some of these very simple strategies, you're going to see progress. I guarantee that if you just use a couple of these habits, you're going to start seeing progress right away. So I hope you found all of this helpful. Make sure to give us a like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.